Then they walk out and they get accosted by a bunch of thugs.
Next on Newsmax Prime, Donald Trump back on the stump this afternoon in Redding, California, reacting to last night in San Jose, where rioters attacked his supporters, violent leftists burning Old Glory, and once again waving the Mexican flag. Then, taking the long view from Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell counsels patience in his new book based in the lessons of the past and what he's hoping to see this November. Plus, did you see the pathetic economic numbers issued this morning? They're very different from what the president's been claiming. We'll talk about them and take your calls as Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, the campaign, the confrontations, and the commentators on the left. The way I see it, there is no clearer example of media indulgence for the left than what we saw last night in San Jose. Ask yourself this question. What if Tea Partiers had attacked Bernie or Hillary supporters? You better believe that every newscast on the alphabet networks would lead with that violence and condemn all conservatives. Now, let me hasten to add, I don't think Tea Partiers would ever tee off physically on leftists leaving a campaign rally. That's a hypothetical. Sadly, what is not hypothetical is the way leftist commentators try to explain away the actions of these thugs, or at the very least, minimize their violent acts. Watch and listen to what Bob Beckel and Jeffrey Toobin said in defense of the rioters last night on CNN.
It reflects badly on people who are against Trump, but you're going to get that kind of thing when you get inflammatory statements like Trump makes.
This kind of protest has gone on for hundreds of years. It's not that big a deal. There have been tens of thousands of people at these rallies. One person getting hurt is unacceptable, but it's one person. I just don't think anybody should, think that this is a bigger deal than it is.
Not that big a deal, huh? Just imagine if the roles were reversed. At any rate, a reminder that we will be taking your calls throughout the next hour at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Now, for more on this story, we're very pleased to be joined by former New York Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik. Bernie is also the former interim minister of the Interior in Iraq. He also served as a senior policy advisor to the U.S. presidential envoy to Iraq, and he joins us tonight from Newsmax Washington. Bernie, we very much appreciate your time on Newsmax Prime. Hearing those guys on CNN, especially Jeffrey Toobin, saying, no, that's no big deal or not that big a deal, does that surprise you?
Well, it does surprise me, and I think it is a big deal. I think it's a violation of Trump's constitutional rights. I think it's the Trump supporters that were violently attacked. I think they have equal protection under the law that wasn't provided for them by the authorities there. You have a mayor that tried to basically accept what happened. He came out later and said that he's totally against this violence, but in his initial statements, he basically said that, you know, Trump's irresponsible for coming to San Jose. That's absurd. The mayor has an obligation and a duty by law to protect Trump supporters, protect that rally. And to my understanding, he ordered the police to stand down. And if that's the case, that is a violation of law. Should not
Bernie,
have
you mentioned the tweet from the mayor of San Jose. Let's put up that initial tweet and take a look at it right now, if we can. And of course, actually, here is your tweet to answer the San Jose mayor. Then why weren't these attacks prevented in the first place? Now I'm wondering, with our superior crew of technicians, can we go and get the tweet from the mayor, or at least what the mayor had to say? I think we have that graphic. And this actually below Bernie's tweet is the second kind of mea culpa, where Mayor Sam Liccardo comes back. I condemn all acts of violence committed against people who exercise their right to free speech. Now, here is the initial tweet. And this is the thing that really burned people up, and you were talking about, Bernie. At some point, Donald Trump needs to take responsibility for the irresponsible behavior of his campaign. To see what we saw last night, and you pointed out that it seemed as if the police were backing off, letting the rioters have at the Trump supporters. What is the deal? We have to point out, for the record, of course, Mayor Liccardo is a Democrat mayor of San Jose. Do politics so permeate our society that even basic respect for the rule of law goes out the window as the mayor makes this crass political point?
JD, I don't care if it was a Trump rally, it was a Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders rally. It doesn't make any difference. If their supporters are being violently attacked, the mayor and his police department has an obligation by law to defend those supporters, and it wasn't happening. What happened last night should not have happened, and nobody should be defending it.
Well, let us go to the phones at 1-877-Newsmax. Let's go to Oregon, where Bob is on the phone, I believe calling tonight from Otis. Bob, welcome to Newsmax Prime. Your reaction to what happened last night in San Jose.
Glad to talk to you, young man. I just want to piss me off that all the flags, the Mexican flags, if they want to be in America, get rid of flags what they bear. And don't burn the United States of America.
Well, you are reacting, Bob, in a way that I think is visceral and is honest. And this is the other thing, Bernie. It astounds me that through the political prism, you hear guys like Bob calling in from Oregon. I can imagine any number of blue-collar workers who may be good union guys and heretofore Democrats, but they see the Mexican flag being waved, they see the American flag being burned, they see people attacked on the streets of San Jose. I just think that politically this is horrible for the left in terms of the vast silent majority. Your take on that?
Well, I agree. And listen, these are nothing but, first of all, these aren't peaceful protesters. They're not exercising their First Amendment right. They're out there violently attacking people, throwing eggs, throwing rocks, sucker punching people. These are thugs. These are animals that the police allowed this conduct to be, they engaged in this conduct. It should not have been allowed. And the whole burning of the flag thing, look, anybody that loves this country, they love that flag. And if you're going to stand there and burn the flag, you can talk all that freedom of press stuff, freedom of speech stuff you want. To me, you're disrespecting the flag, you're disrespecting the country, and you're disrespecting, most importantly, the men and women that have died defending that flag. I think it's sickening.
Well, let us go back to the phones again at 1-877-Newsmax. Again out west to Chino Hills, California. Ray is on the line. Ray, how do you react to what's going on there in your home state?
I'm very disappointed, and it's pathetic that the general public could not express themselves and go to a rally without the fear of being assaulted. Now, I'd like to know why the police are not arresting these people that injure other people, the protest beyond putting up a sign, and who has the right, the general public or a few protesters? Something has to be done by the police departments to stop this.
And Ray, you ask a question that we can basically hand off here to Bernie Kerik. Bernie, obviously, you're the former police commissioner of New York. In a situation like what occurred last night in San Jose, if that had happened on your watch in New York City, what actions would you have taken?
Let me tell you something, JD. If that happened on my watch in New York City, and I gave the order for the police to stand down and stand back and let these protesters or these thugs engage in violent behavior, I can promise you Rudy Giuliani would have fired me. It would not have happened. The police have to take action. They have a duty and an obligation by law to take action. And I have to say, on a political note, for the mayors of these cities that aren't aggressively protecting the people that go to these rallies, I'm not sure why the Justice Department doesn't come in. This is obvious. It's apparent political, behavior. I'm not sure why the Justice Department can't come in and look at it.
Well, speaking of what transpires in terms of immigration law, in terms of seeing Mexican flags held aloft and Old Glory burned. I want to come back across the country to the East Coast because there's a story that's starting to get some attention, and this boggles the mind. But at Dulles International Airport, an alleged Somali warlord, Yusuf Abdi Ali, was working as a security guard until a CNN report exposed him. He was not part of the TSA, but he did have access to TSA secured parts of the airport. Ali allegedly passed a full federally mandated vetting process that included an FBI background check and a TSA assessment. Now, these are supposed to be the people who are going to be vetting the Syrian refugees. When you see what happened here at Dulles with this Somali warlord, what does that say about the vetting process, Bernie?
Well, I think it's a clear demonstration that this whole thing with the Syrian refugees is something that cannot happen. We have a hard enough time vetting the people that are in country, vetting the people that we have access to their documents, to their, their host countries that they come in here from, that their embassies. We don't have that with Syrian refugees. We don't have the diplomatic relationship with Syria or their embassies or their internal security structure. There's no way we would know, we could know. And that's not coming from only me, JD. That's from the director of the FBI, the Secretary of Homeland Security. The vetting process for the Syrian refugees is impossible at this point, and it shouldn't be allowed. We shouldn't be bringing these people in here until we can adequately vet them.
You know, a personal observation, this is from 15 years ago when I served in Congress, commuting back and forth out west to Arizona from Washington each week, going through Dulles. When security was upped, the number of inspectors, women wearing the hijab, it was mind-boggling. And look, I'm not here to indict an entire class of people, but it seems as if political correctness has just gone wild to the point where Dulles had a Somali warlord as one of the members of the security detail at the airport. This is unconscionable, and it can't abide. You've been telling us for a long time, Bernie, we're due a wake-up call. Final 15 seconds to you.
I think this also, it talks about the vetting process for our own people. Private contractors vetting people at the airports and otherwise, bad stuff. Bad stuff shouldn't be happening.
We will have to leave it there. Bernie Kerik, you have our thanks. When we come back, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on his new book.